Okay, yep. So one more time, we want to bring in a polygon plane. So we're going to go ahead and, wait, let me get rid of this. I don't know why I have that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and grab from the poly modeling menu, we're going to grab polygon plane and then move it outside of your tree and scale it up big. Hotkey R, scale it up big and bring it up so that that's the main thing you're focused on. Move it away from your tree so your tree doesn't distract you. You should be working on this plane. Now we're going to go into the attribute editor and we will decrease the number of subdivisions. So click on polyplane 1 or polyplane 2, whichever one it is for you. For me it's polyplane 2 right now. And then decrease the number of subdivisions to 1 and 1 so that it is just a square, okay? No subdivisions. All right, so this is just a 2D square that we have in our scene. This is what we're going to use as our leaves so that we can have like hundreds of these without it taking up too much digital space. Because if we had a whole bunch of detailed leaves, the actual mesh of leaves, it would take up way more space. And if you were trying to load that into a game or just render it in general, it would take way longer than if we just had this little plain geometry version of it, okay? So now we're going to talk about how to assign materials in a complex way. I know we've talked about some materials before. We've talked about color. Now we're going to be using the Hypershader window, okay? So that's what I recommend you use most of the time you're assigning materials to things. So you go to Windows, and then down to Rendering Editors, and we're going to open up the Hypershade. Okay, Hypershade or Hypershader, this is what we call it. Alrighty. Okay, so we came into our Hypershader. This is what it looks like. It should open up. For you guys, you won't have that many things up here. Maybe you'll have like Lambert 1, maybe Lambert 2 if you created any materials. Yeah, Eden? So you go to Windows, and then Rendering Editors and Hypershade. Okay, that's how you open up this Hypershader. All right, a couple different things to look at. Okay, up here, these are all of the materials that you've created in your scene. Okay, Maya comes with a couple already, so that's what this is up here. On the left-hand side, this is displaying like the material attributes for the one that you're currently selected on. So if I go to this one, this is just standard surface one. This is what my plane came in with. It's showing those attributes in the Hypershader right here. All right. And then on the left-hand side, this is where you can grab, like assign new materials pretty quickly and easily. Yeah, Eden?
I don't see that Hypershader.
Okay, I'll come. Sometimes if it comes in, it'll like be in the bottom left corner like this, so you have to open it up. But yeah, I can come take a look in a second for you guys. But this is the Hypershader. So the first thing we want to do right now, let's go ahead and hit the minus on this. Don't exit out, but hit the minus so it's not in front of our view. And let's right-click on our plane and assign a new material. Okay, we're going to assign just a standard surface material. So just click Standard Surface. For you, it might be Standard Surface 2. Maybe it'll be Standard Surface 3. And then over here in the Attribute Editor, let's rename this Leaf 1. Okay, that's what we're going to call this material, this surface. Then open your Hypershader again, and it should have come in, populated, just like this, Leaf 1 in the Hypershader. All right, that's my standard surface material. Okay, raise your hand if you can't get the Hypershader open, or if you're having issues with this stuff. Really high, so I can see. You guys? I'm going to open the Hypershader. Okay, so right click on this. Oh, guys should not be editing your tree right now. You should be working in the Hypershader on leaves with me. Okay, next step. So if you reopen the Hypershader that you minused, you should be able to see this leaf 1 material came in like this. Okay, looks really complex, but here's a couple of things that I want you to notice. When you click on this leaf 1, it shows you, right, in the property editor, it shows you a display of that material. And this is where we're going to start entering things in. It's very similar to the attribute editor, but we want to use the Hypershader view because it gives us more options, okay? So we're going to start with color. Okay, so go ahead and in the Hypershader, you should be clicked on leaf 1. Okay, it's the material on here. So you can do right-click menu, material attributes if you need to. Get to your leaf 1 material. And then in the property editor, scroll up to the top. In the color section, click on the checker box. And we're going to add a file. Okay? And as you can see, it's come in as a node in my Hypershader window. Okay? So I'm visually seeing the files that I'm adding. I am going to change the name of file 1 to leaf1_diffuse. Okay? This is my leaf1 diffuse file. That's what it will be. Okay, so bring in, again, we clicked on leaf 1. We clicked on the checker box next to color. And it gave us a pop-up, and then we chose file. Okay, and that is where we added this file, this leaf1 diffuse. Do you guys need to see? Raise your hand if you need to see that again. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so, again, I'm in my leaf 1 material, right? You can always click on your plane. Right-click and do material attributes. That's how you know you're in the right one. Okay, leaf 1. You should have named it leaf 1. If you didn't, you can name it right here or you can name it right here. Leaf 1. Now, we're going to use this checkerboard box next to color. So scroll up to the top. In the little base drop down next to color, click on the checkerboard box and add a file. Okay, it came in like this, nice little file node, and it came attached to our base color of our material. And we're going to change the name of this file 1 to leaf1 diffuse. Okay, this is my leaf1 diffuse. Alright, and now we're going to actually grab the image. So, in your leaf1 diffuse, this is what is selected in your Hypershader menu. Right, leaf1 diffuse right here. You're going to click on this little folder right here next to image name. And it'll give you this pop-up. And it should be taking you to the file where your project is currently saved, but just make sure that you're in your H drive and where you downloaded those images and saved them to. So 3D graphics, Autodesk, projects for me, it's materials, and then leaf materials. For you, it might be something slightly different. And this is where I'm just going to grab that leaf1 JPEG. Okay, just the regular leaf1 JPEG, looks like this, and hit open. Okay. So I'm applying that file as the color for this texture, okay? And I can see that view displayed in my main viewport right here. If you can't see it right now, maybe you're in wireframe mode or shaded mode. So hit hotkey 6, and that'll show you shaded display with texture maps. Shaded display with texture maps, okay? So we just brought in leaf 1. Okay? Alright, raise your hand if you were able to successfully attach the leaf 1 diffuse map. Raise your hand really high if you got this done. You're caught up. Okay, give me a thumbs down if you're not caught up. You're still working on it. You're having a problem. You need me to repeat the whole thing. Give me a thumbs up if you want me to repeat the last 2 steps. Or the whole thing? Yeah? The whole thing. Whole thing. Okay, whole thing. All right, we're going to repeat the whole thing. For those of you guys who are caught up, awesome. Just pay attention again. It'll help you. Round 2. That way you'll be able to do it. So let me go through this process again for you guys, okay? I'm just going to delete this real quick. Okay, so you're in your tree file, right, guys? Hey, make sure you're following along because I'm repeating the whole thing, yeah? Okay, so you should be in your tree file. We're grabbing, in the poly modeling menu, we're grabbing a plane. Okay, we're scaling up our plane. In the attribute editor, we're going to change the number of subdivisions from 10 to 1. So there are no subdivisions. Okay? Now, we're going to assign a new material. So that was right-click menu that I just did. I click on my plane. I could do hotkey Q. Click on your plane, right-click menu, hold down right-click, assign new material. We're just going to assign a standard surface material. Okay, I'm going to call this one Leaf Practice. For you guys who are doing it the first time, call it Leaf 1, okay? Because you'll notice that you can't name materials the same thing as other materials. Otherwise, they get all jumbled up in your hypershader. So it like forces you to pick a different name for your materials.
What leaf do you want? Like just,
The Leaf 1. We'll do stuff with the other leaves later, but for now we're using Leaf 1. Okay. Next, you've created that Leaf 1 material, right? You assigned the new material. Okay, we're gonna open our hypershader window. Go to Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Okay, we have our hypershader open. All right, and let's see, in my new one, Leaf Practice. Let me grab that new one just so you guys can see. Okay, so if you have the hypershader open before you assign a material, it automatically pops up in here. If you don't have it open, then you have to get it open in here so you can assign existing material and just grab that Leaf Practice. Or you can just assign a new material while you're in here. Grab that standard shader, right? And now it'll come in standard surface shader in here, okay? So this one is Leaf 1, but you know it automatically made me call it Leaf 2. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this Leaf Practice one. All right, you can see all of the different materials I've made up here. So I have a Leaf 1, a Leaf 2, I have a different Leaf 1 because I've been practicing in this file a lot. But all of them are named slightly different things because Maya doesn't want you to create things on top of itself, so just keep that in mind. But you should have a Leaf 1 material. Okay guys, next step, make sure you're following along, yeah? Next step is you're going to click on this node in the hypershader. And you're going to click on the checker box next to the color box right here. Add a file. And we're going to name that file Leaf 1 Diffuse. In my case, I'm going to do Leaf 2 because this is my second time going through it. Okay, now we're going to click on this little folder next to image name. And we're going to grab that material, okay, where you saved it, and you're just grabbing that Leaf 1 JPEG and opening it up. Okay, now you should have, like I do, a plane with a leaf on it. It looks like this. Now let's talk about how to make it so the white background is gone and it's less shiny. Because this is really, really glossy, right? It doesn't look like a leaf, kind of looks like a glossy piece of paper. So we're moving on, guys. You guys need to, everybody listen up, eyes up front. Okay, you guys need to be following along in the lab. Yeah? Okay, next step. Now we're going to assign a specular map, okay? We don't want this leaf to be as shiny as it is. So I have created for you guys a nice specular map to reduce the amount of glossiness that is going on right here. So we're going to add that by clicking on our Leaf 1 node again. Okay? Make sure you're on your Leaf 1 node right here. For me, I'm doing Leaf 2 because this is my second time through it. Okay. And then click on it, and now we want to go to the specular section. So maybe it's closed for you guys. Open it up. Specular section. It's under the base section in your property editor. So specular section. And then again, we're going to go to the checker box next to color. Right here. Click on it. Add another file. This one, we're going to change the file name to Leaf 1 Spec. All right, or specular or something like that. Okay, I'm going to call it Leaf 2 Spec because I'm doing Leaf 2, but you guys should all call it Leaf 1 Spec. All right. And we're going to grab an image again, and this time we're grabbing the material. Leaf 1 Spec Black. This material that you downloaded. This is what you need to be applying to that specular color node. Okay? And you can see that it's applied to the right place because it has this nice little line in between. Okay? And now, if we take a look at our leaf, yeah, there's still some glossiness, but it's just on the leaf itself, and it's not on that white background. So you guys see that? So I've reduced the amount of overall gloss to just in that leaf area, okay? Now, and you guys can always go back and fix any issues you had before, so just follow along with what we're doing now. Okay, we're going to click into our leaf texture again. Okay, and now we're going to add an opacity map. So if you zoom in, let me full screen this for you guys. If you zoom in towards the bottom, there's this word opacity. If you click on that, then it should pop up into your leaf 2 area, okay? And then down here at the very, very bottom, scroll down all the way to the bottom, we have this opacity value right here. Okay, so I haven't added anything yet, but I'm just in my leaf 1 or my leaf texture in the hypershader. Okay, scroll down all the way to the bottom to this opacity value down here and click on that checker box. Alright, so again, leaf, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on the checker box next to opacity. And now add a file, and we're going to call this one leaf 1 opaque or something like that, or opacity. So you're adding your opacity file. Now let's go to our folder.
Oh, do you have a 4th hour?
No, I don't.
Can I send, like this next class, I mean, 8th hour?
I don't have 8th, yeah.
Can I send like 16 kids in here to work?
Sure.
Okay, it won't be for the whole class.
They're just taking tests, right?
They're doing accounting.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Yep. All right. Okay, so we just added this leaf 2 opaque, and now we have to add the actual file. So go to your materials again, leaf materials, and let's assign this leaf 1 opacity material, opaque, and hit open. All right, and now you should be able to, got rid of the white, and you should be able to see your leaf and nothing around your leaf. Do you guys see that? Okay, those are all 3 of the materials that we're assigning to our leaves. That's it. For the leaves are just those 3 different types of materials. So, Cole, what are the 3 types of materials that we're assigning to our leaves? Give me one of them. Opacity, diffuse, and so the diffuse is the image, so specular is the other. With the leaves, I forgot one step for you guys. So if you turn your leaf upside down and it's just black, it doesn't look like a leaf. That's because you don't have double-sided lighting on. So guys, listen up for a sec. If you look at the bottom half of your leaf and it's black, you need to turn on double-sided lighting. The way you do that is in your perspective view, where you're at right now. You see where it says view, shading, lighting, show, renderer, panels? Okay, it's like right at the top of your perspective view before you get into where the tools are. I'll just show it. Okay. I can't talk to you guys through it. Okay. So if your leaf is black on the bottom, here's how you fix that. Right here, where it says lighting. Hey guys, look right up here where it says lighting. Open that and check next to 2-sided lighting. Check that on, okay? Now when you look at the bottom of your leaf, it will not be black, it'll be leaf. That way you can rearrange your leaves as much as possible and it won't affect the texture, yeah?